It was 3:12 a.m. when the phone shattered the silence of my Brooklyn apartment. I froze. Everyone dreads those calls in the middle of the night, the ones that can only mean disaster. My hand trembled as I reached for the receiver. "Mrs. Miller? This is Mount Sinai Hospital. Your son-in-law, Michael Carter, has been admitted. Massive stroke. You need to come immediately." The world tilted on its axis. Michael, my brilliant, kind 39-year-old son-in-law, was gone before dawn even broke. But that wasn't the worst part. The true nightmare began when his widow Olivia walked into the hospital, without a single tear in her eyes. From that moment, I knew something was terribly wrong. The church in Brooklyn Heights was packed with mourners that Saturday morning. Candlelight flickered against the stained glass windows, casting solemn colors across rows of grieving faces. The air felt heavy, thick with the scent of lilies and the sound of muffled sobs. I sat in the front pew, my black dress clinging uncomfortably to my skin, my hands wrapped tightly around Noah, my 9-year-old grandson. His small shoulders shook with genuine grief, each sob tearing through me like glass. But then, there was Olivia. She arrived 20 minutes late, stepping out of a sleek black car as if she were attending a fashion show, not her husband's funeral. Her designer dress hugged her figure perfectly, her hair styled in soft waves, her lips painted in flawless nude gloss. She wore oversized sunglasses even inside the church, though I noticed her eyes were perfectly dry. And when she finally slid into the pew beside me, she leaned just slightly against my shoulder. Not heavily. Not with the weight of a grieving widow. Just enough so that when people looked our way, it appeared we were united in sorrow. I knew better. I felt how lightly she rested against me, ready to straighten the moment someone important walked by. I watched her eyes scan the room, lingering not on Michael's casket but on his wealthier clients, on the people with influence, on the ones she clearly calculated were worth impressing. Meanwhile, Noah's little body trembled against mine, his face blotchy from real tears. He whispered, voice broken, "Grandma, is Daddy really in there?" My throat closed. I forced myself to answer gently. "Yes, sweetheart. His body is there. But the part of him that made him your dad, his love, his spirit, that will always be with you." Noah clung to me tighter. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just mourning my son-in-law. I was standing on the edge of a war for my grandson's future, against the woman who was supposed to love him most. 2 days after the funeral, we gathered in the mahogany-paneled office of Thomas Clark, Michael's longtime friend and attorney. The rain outside streaked down the tall windows, drumming against the glass like a ticking clock. I sat quietly, clutching Noah's hand, while Olivia tapped her manicured nails impatiently on the arm of her leather chair. Thomas adjusted his glasses, his voice calm but deliberate. "This is the last will and testament of Michael Carter, updated 3 months ago." Olivia leaned forward, lips curving into the faintest smile. She was ready to collect her prize. But the words that followed shattered her composure. "To my wife Olivia, I leave the Miami condo, my investment portfolio with Hale Partners, and my life insurance policy." Her smile froze. Miami condo. A portfolio. Insurance. That was it. Thomas's voice continued steadily. "To my mother-in-law Eleanor Miller, I leave the family home in Brooklyn, all vehicles, and my personal bank account at First National. In addition, she is named sole trustee of Noah Carter's Education Trust." The silence was deafening. Olivia's perfectly glossed lips parted, her eyes darting from Thomas to me, as if searching for some hidden trick. "That's impossible," she snapped. "We bought that house together. It's marital property." Without a word, Thomas slid a folder across the desk. "Not exactly. The house was purchased solely in Michael's name before your marriage. The deed confirms it." Olivia's nails dug into the leather armrest. A flush of red crept across her flawless complexion. "This doesn't make sense. Michael never would have done this without telling me." But I knew better. Michael had seen something. He had known something. And he had acted to protect his son, And me. Olivia forced a trembling hand to her throat, feigning a widow's shock. But behind those wide eyes, I caught it, the flicker of raw calculation. The war had officially begun. When the will reading ended, Olivia stormed out of the office in a flurry of designer perfume and angry footsteps. Her threats, "This isn't over. I'll fight you for everything," still echoed in the hallway. Thomas waited until the door shut before reaching into his desk drawer. "Eleanor," he said quietly, "there's something Michael left specifically for you." He placed a sealed envelope on the polished wood. My breath caught. My son-in-law's handwriting, steady, familiar, spelled my name across the front. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside was a single page, the ink slightly smudged, as though written in haste but with deliberate care. "Mom, if you're reading this, the unthinkable has happened. I'm so sorry to leave you with this burden, but there's no one I trust more. For months, I've watched my marriage unravel. What began as distance has grown into something darker. Olivia is not the woman I thought she was. I've discovered things that make me fear for Noah's future and for your safety too." I pressed the paper to my chest, struggling to breathe. "That's why I changed my will. The house, the cars, the accounts, they aren't really for you. They're shields. Tools to protect Noah. Olivia will try to manipulate you. She'll try to use him as leverage. Don't let her. Watch her closely. Document everything. Thomas has the rest of my evidence and will guide you when the time comes. Mom, you taught me to see people clearly. I need you to use that gift now. Protect my son. Protect yourself. I love you." Tears blurred the words, but I could still feel Michael's presence in every line. Even in death, he had been planning, shielding us from a danger I was only beginning to comprehend. When I looked up, Thomas's expression was grave. "There's more, Eleanor. Michael suspected Olivia's affair with Richard Hale months ago. He gathered proof. But he wanted you to have this first, to understand why he made the choices he did." I folded the letter carefully, sliding it back into the envelope, as if its words alone could guard us. Outside the office window, the rain still fell. But inside me, something shifted. The grief was still raw, unbearable, but now it burned with a new fuel. Resolve. Michael had given me a mission, and I would not fail him. 3 nights after the will reading, Olivia appeared unannounced at my brownstone in Brooklyn. She didn't knock timidly. She entered, letting herself in with the spare key Michael had once trusted her with. I found her sitting at my kitchen island, legs crossed, a sleek black pantsuit draped perfectly on her frame. She swirled a glass of red wine as though she owned the place. "Eleanor," she purred, offering me a smile that didn't touch her eyes. "We need to talk about the house." I placed a teapot on the stove, keeping my back to her for a moment. "Control the pace," I reminded myself. "Of course," I said calmly. "Coffee or tea?" She waved a manicured hand. "No, thank you. I'll keep this short." Her voice dropped into something softer, rehearsed. "This house, it's filled with memories of Michael. Every room reminds Noah of what he's lost. Don't you think it would be healthier for him to start fresh somewhere else?" I turned, studying her face. Perfect makeup, dry eyes, not a hint of exhaustion from grief. "You're considering moving?" I asked mildly. She leaned forward, sliding a folder across the counter. "I've already found a condo in Tribeca. Beautiful. Modern. Walking distance to Noah's school. But there's a complication." Her tone hardened, just for a split second. "James, Michael, left everything in your name. A mistake, I'm sure. For Noah's sake, we should fix it quickly. Just sign the transfer papers, and we can move forward as a family." There it was. The first move in her game. I opened the folder slowly. Legal documents. Cleanly typed. A place for my signature at the bottom. Her gaze was locked on me, hungry, waiting. Inside my chest, Michael's letter pulsed like a warning bell. She'll try to manipulate you. Don't let her know what you know. Watch her closely. I raised my eyes, masking my fury with a gentle smile. I understand your concern, Olivia. But making hasty decisions during grief isn't wise. Perhaps we should give it more time before rushing into major changes. Her smile tightened, the corners of her lips trembling as though her mask had cracked. Of course, she said, voice saccharine. Take your time. But Eleanor, she leaned in close, her perfume sharp and suffocating. Don't let your grief cloud your judgment. Think about Noah. He needs me. He needs us, together. I nodded, hiding the truth blazing inside me. No, Olivia. He doesn't need us. He needs protection, from you. As she rose to leave, she paused at the mirror in my hallway, adjusting her hair with casual vanity. For a fleeting second, her reflection betrayed her. Not sorrow, not exhaustion, only cold calculation. And in that instant, I knew. This was no grieving widow. This was a woman playing chess, and she thought she held the queen. But I had Michael's letter. And I was ready to play the long game. The phone rang on a humid Friday afternoon. It was Noah. His small voice trembled through the receiver. Grandma. Mommy says we're going to Miami. With Uncle Richard. She told me to pack my swimsuits, but I don't understand. Daddy never liked Uncle Richard. My blood ran cold. Miami. Richard Hale. The name Michael had warned about in his letter. I forced my voice to stay steady. It's okay, sweetheart. Did Mommy say when you're leaving? Tomorrow morning. Early. He sniffled. Grandma, can you come too? My heart shattered. I'll try, darling. Stay close to Mommy, and call me if you need me. When the line went dead, I sank into my chair, fists clenched. Olivia was moving quickly now, faster than I expected. Miami wasn't just a vacation. It was her stage. The following evening, I received a photo, forwarded by a concerned friend. Olivia and Richard, laughing by a poolside cabana, champagne flutes in hand. Olivia wore a white sundress, her face radiant, not with grief, but with triumph. Behind them, blurred in the background, was Noah, alone. Sitting by the pool with his knees pulled to his chest, staring at the water as though he wished he were anywhere else. The caption from the friend was sharp, almost pitying. This doesn't look like morning, Eleanor. My chest burned with rage. 2 days later, when they returned, Olivia strutted into my house as though nothing had happened. Oh, Eleanor, she sighed dramatically, tossing her designer sunglasses onto my counter. Miami was therapeutic. Richard was such a comfort. And Noah, well, he needs a male figure, don't you think? Her words sliced through me. She wasn't even hiding it anymore. I met her gaze, my voice low but steady. Noah already has a father. And you buried him less than 2 weeks ago. For the first time, her mask slipped entirely. Her smile vanished. Her eyes hardened like steel. Careful, Eleanor, she whispered, leaning close. Don't forget who has custody of Noah. You might hold the deeds and the bank accounts, but I hold your grandson. She picked up her sunglasses, slid them back on, and left without another word. The silence she left behind was heavier than any storm. But her threat only fueled my resolve. Michael was right. Olivia was dangerous. And now she dragged Richard into her schemes, right in front of Noah. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about saving my grandson's soul, before Olivia destroyed it. The courtroom smelled of old wood and cold coffee. The judge's gavel struck once, sharp and unforgiving. Case number 4721. Carter versus Miller. Custody hearing for minor child Noah Carter. I sat at the petitioner's table, my hands folded tightly in my lap. To my left was Mr. Daniels, my attorney, calm and composed. Across the room, Olivia glowed under the fluorescent lights. Her sleek navy dress fit like armor, her hair in a glossy chignon, her smile polished for the cameras that had gathered in the hallway outside. Beside her sat Richard Hale, pretending to be a family friend. But I knew better. Olivia's lawyer stood first, his tone smooth as silk. Your Honor, my client, Olivia Carter, is a devoted mother who has endured the sudden loss of her husband with grace and strength. She seeks stability for her son, Noah. Unfortunately, Eleanor Miller, though well-meaning, is 70 years old and in declining health. It is in Noah's best interest to remain with his mother. The words stabbed, but I kept my face still. Then my attorney rose. Your Honor, we don't dispute that Mrs. Carter is Noah's biological mother. But stability? We have evidence suggesting otherwise. Exhibit A. He placed a stack of photos on the judge's desk. The very same Miami photos. Olivia poolside with Richard, champagne in hand, while Noah sat alone, unsupervised. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Even the judge's brow furrowed. Olivia shifted in her seat, forcing a laugh. Your Honor, these pictures are taken out of context. Noah was fine. Richard was simply offering emotional support during a difficult time. But the judge's gaze was cold. Emotional support that involves luxury vacations days after a funeral? That does not reflect mourning or stability. My lawyer pressed further. We also submit Exhibit B, Michael Carter's letter, written 3 months prior to his passing. The courtroom stilled. The judge adjusted his glasses, scanning the letter. Michael's words, his warnings about Olivia, his plea to protect Noah, rang in the silence. Olivia's face drained of color. She shot me a look so sharp it could have cut glass. Finally, the judge spoke. Until further review, custody of Noah Carter will remain shared between both parties. However, Mrs. Carter, your judgment is in serious question. I will be appointing a guardian ad litem to observe Noah's living conditions. Court is adjourned. The gavel struck again. As the room emptied, Olivia swept past me, her heels clicking like gunshots against marble. She leaned in, her words venom disguised as a whisper. You think you've won, Eleanor? This was just round 1. You're too old to keep up with me. I'll take everything, your house, your reputation, and Noah. Watch me. I stood taller, clutching Michael's letter in my hand like a shield. I whispered back, calm but steady. No, Olivia. This isn't about winning. This is about Noah. And I will fight for him until my last breath. Her eyes narrowed into daggers, but she said nothing more. Because deep down she knew. The war was far from over. The days after the custody hearing were eerily quiet. Too quiet. Olivia had retreated into her glass and steel condo, her pride bruised, her public image cracked. But one evening, as I walked home from Noah's school recital, I spotted a familiar figure leaning against the brick wall across the street. Richard Hale. He wasn't dressed like the polished executive Olivia flaunted at Miami. His tie was gone, his jacket wrinkled, his eyes darting with unease. Mrs. Miller, he said, his voice low, almost guilty. We need to talk. We sat in a small diner, the hum of fluorescent lights above us. Richard stirred his coffee but never took a sip. I didn't sign up for this, he muttered. When Olivia first came to me, she said she just needed comfort. A friend. But then came the money. The schemes. The manipulation. And now, dragging Noah into this circus? It's too much. I studied him carefully. Why are you telling me this now? His jaw tightened. He pulled a manila envelope from his briefcase and slid it across the table. Because Michael was right. She's dangerous. And I won't go down with her. Inside the envelope were copies of wire transfers. Thousands of dollars funneled into a private offshore account under Olivia's name. Dates, signatures, everything. My breath caught. This could prove she's siphoning assets. That she isn't acting in Noah's best interest. Richard nodded grimly. She thinks I'm still on her side. But I can't do this anymore. Not after Miami. Not after seeing Noah alone by that pool. crying. I can't get his face out of my head. His voice cracked, just slightly. For the first time, I saw guilt, real guilt, etched across his features. But understand this, Mrs. Miller, he added. Olivia, she won't stop. If she realizes I'm helping you, she'll destroy me. That night, as I locked the envelope in my desk drawer, I knew two things. I finally had a weapon sharp enough to pierce Olivia's armor. And Richard, her most trusted ally, was now my silent witness. But I also knew Olivia. And if she sensed betrayal, her revenge would be merciless. The game had shifted. And the Queen was about to find herself cornered. It didn't take long. Olivia always had a sixth sense for betrayal. 3 nights after my secret meeting with Richard, he called me again. His voice was strained, panicked. She knows. Eleanor. Olivia knows. Before I could respond, the line went dead. The next morning, the news broke. Richard Hale had been placed on indefinite leave from his firm, pending an internal investigation for embezzlement. His career shattered overnight. I knew exactly whose hand was behind it. Later that afternoon, Olivia arrived at my house, uninvited as always. Her heels clicked sharply against my hardwood floors, each step like a warning bell. She didn't bother with pleasantries. You thought you were clever, she hissed, tossing a glossy photograph onto my table. It was Richard, leaving the diner we'd met in. A grainy, late-night snapshot. Someone had been watching. You and Richard, whispering secrets in the shadows, she sneered. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Her eyes burned with fury, but her smile was ice. I warned him. I told him what happens when people betray me. And now, he's finished. Just like you will be. I steadied my breath, refusing to flinch. What do you want, Olivia? Her laugh was sharp, cruel. What I've always wanted. Control. You can wave Michael's little letter all you want, but in the end, it's just words. Meanwhile, I hold Noah's future. His love. His loyalty. She leaned closer, her perfume suffocating. And if you keep pushing me, Eleanor, I'll make sure Noah hates you. I'll tell him you're trying to steal him away from his mother. And children always believe their mothers. Even when they shouldn't. When she finally swept out, leaving the door ajar behind her, I collapsed into a chair. My chest ached with grief and rage. She had crushed Richard in a single move. And now, she was aiming for me. But she underestimated one thing. I wasn't just fighting for property, or pride. I was fighting for Noah's soul. And no threat, no scheme, no revenge from Olivia Carter would ever break that resolve. The morning of the second custody hearing, Manhattan Supreme Court buzzed like a hive. Reporters lined the marble steps, cameras flashing as Olivia strutted past in a crimson suit, Noah's hand clutched tightly in hers. To the outside world, she was the picture of elegance, the grieving widow fighting for her child. But I carried a weapon Olivia didn't know I was ready to use. Inside the courtroom, the judge adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. Mrs. Miller, you requested additional evidence to be entered into the record. Proceed. My attorney rose, calm as ever. Your Honor, we present financial records provided by Richard Hale, longtime associate of Mrs. Carter. These documents detail a series of offshore transfers, totaling over $1.7 million, diverted from the Carter estate into a private account under Mrs. Olivia Carter's name. A hush fell. Papers shuffled. The judge leaned forward, scanning the files. Olivia's lawyer shot to his feet. Objection. This is hearsay. Mr. Hale's credibility. Credibility. My attorney cut in. These are notarized bank records. With signatures. Dates. Routing numbers. This isn't speculation. This is embezzlement. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Noah shifted uncomfortably, his small hand slipping from Olivia's grasp. For the first time, Olivia's mask cracked. Her smile faltered, her knuckles whitened as she gripped the table edge. The judge's voice was stern. Mrs. Carter, can you explain these transfers? Olivia straightened, her tone dripping with honeyed defiance. Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding. My late husband, Michael, often trusted me with financial responsibilities. These funds were simply reallocated for Noah's future. But the judge's eyes narrowed. Reallocated to an account in the Cayman Islands? Olivia froze. The silence in the room was deafening. I looked at her, my heart pounding but my voice steady. Michael warned me, Olivia. He knew. And now, the truth is here for everyone to see. Her eyes snapped to mine, blazing with fury, but beneath the rage there was something new, fear. The judge slammed his gavel. Until this financial matter is fully investigated, Mrs. Carter, your custodial rights will be suspended. Temporary guardianship of Noah Carter will be granted to Eleanor Miller. The room erupted. Reporters scrambled for quotes. Olivia stood frozen, her chest heaving, her perfect image crumbling under the weight of exposed lies. As Noah ran into my arms, I held him tight. For the first time in weeks, he smiled. But I knew this wasn't the end. Because Olivia Carter wasn't the kind of woman to accept defeat. This was only the breaking point. The war had just entered its deadliest phase. If the courtroom had been my victory, the battlefield outside became Olivia's. 2 days after the judge granted me temporary guardianship, the headlines began. Cold-hearted grandmother steals child from grieving widow. Society widow Olivia Carter, betrayed by family, fighting for her son. Her face, framed by tearful interviews and staged photographs, flooded every magazine stand, every morning talk show. On Good Morning America, Olivia dabbed her eyes with a silk handkerchief. They've painted me as a monster, she sniffled, her voice quivering just enough to sound real. But all I want is to raise my son in peace. Eleanor, she's wealthy, powerful, and she hates me. She'll do anything to erase me from Noah's life. Clips of Noah, smiling awkwardly, clearly staged, were spliced into the broadcast. The narrative was clear. I was the villain, the controlling grandmother robbing a boy of his mother. And the world was buying it. At the grocery store, whispers followed me down the aisles. That's her, someone muttered. The one who took her grandson away. Even at church, old friends avoided my gaze. The final blow came on social media. Olivia's carefully curated posts went viral. Photos of her reading bedtime stories to Noah, kissing his forehead, walking hand in hand down Central Park. Her captions dripped with martyrdom. Every child deserves their mother. Pray for us. When family betrays you, love is all you have left. The comments were brutal. #StandWithOlivia trended within hours. And my name? Dragged through the mud. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through the hate, my hands trembling. Noah looked up from his homework, his little brow furrowed. Grandma, why is everyone saying you're bad? The question pierced deeper than any headline. I forced a smile, brushing his hair back. Because sometimes, sweetheart, people believe lies more than truth. But you and I, we know who we are. And one day, the truth will be louder than all their noise. But as I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, I realized something chilling. Olivia had shifted the war from courts to public opinion. And in the age of cameras and clicks, reputation could be destroyed faster than any legal ruling. She had drawn first blood in this new battle. And if I didn't fight back soon, I could lose Noah, not in court, but in his heart. For weeks, Olivia dominated every headline. Her tears sold newspapers, her hashtag swayed millions, and her curated photos painted her as the perfect, grieving mother. But the truth had teeth. And I was ready to let it bite. One crisp morning, I stepped into the studios of 60 Minutes. The producers had reached out, desperate for my side of the story. I had refused at first. I wasn't a woman who lived in the spotlight. But when Noah asked me why the world thought I was cruel, I knew silence was no longer an option. The cameras rolled. I spoke softly, steadily. I'm not here to attack Olivia. I'm here because my grandson deserves the truth. Michael, my son, loved his wife, yes. But he also saw her darkness. He left a letter, warning me to protect Noah. And as painful as it is, I can't ignore that. Then I produced the manila envelope Richard had given me, the one with the offshore transfers. Michael's estate wasn't lost. It was stolen. The host leaned in, his voice low, dramatic. Mrs. Miller, are you saying Olivia Carter embezzled her own husband's fortune? I held his gaze. I'm not saying it. The bank records are. But the real bombshell came at the end. Tonight, I continued, we have someone who can speak for themselves. The camera cut to the side. And there sat Richard Hale. No longer polished in a suit, but stripped raw, his eyes sunken with guilt. I was part of it, he confessed, his voice trembling. I helped Olivia move the money. At first, I told myself it was harmless. But when I saw what she did to Noah, I couldn't stay silent. Eleanor is telling the truth. The episode aired that Sunday night. By Monday morning, the tide had shifted. Olivia Carter, victim or villain? Shocking new evidence in custody battle. Clips of Richard's tearful confession went viral. Hashtags flipped. Hashtag Protect Noah began trending, eclipsing Olivia's carefully crafted narrative. For the first time, she wasn't in control of the story. That evening, Olivia stormed into my driveway, her face pale, her voice shaking with rage. You think this changes anything? She screamed. You've humiliated me. But I swear, Eleanor, this isn't over. I will burn everything you love to the ground. I stood firm, Noah's small hand clutching mine from behind the door. You've already lost what matters most, Olivia, I said quietly. And that's the truth. Her eyes flickered, fear, fury, desperation, and then she was gone, swallowed into the night. The more the truth spread, the more Olivia's mask slipped. Her once flawless Instagram, filled with glossy photos and perfect captions, became erratic. Long, bitter rants. Drunken late-night live streams where her mascara streaked down her face. They've turned my son against me, she screamed into the camera one night. Eleanor stole everything from me. But I'll take it back. You'll see, I'll take it all back. Clips of her breakdown went viral within hours. But this time, people weren't sympathizing. They were laughing. At charity galas, once her domain, whispers followed her like shadows. Did you hear about the Cayman accounts? Poor Noah. Imagine having a mother like that. She tried to brush it off with dazzling smiles, but her temper flared faster now. One evening, she threw a champagne glass across a ballroom after someone mentioned Michael's name. Even her closest friends began to drift away. The Olivia Carter they adored, the glamorous widow, the social butterfly, was unraveling before their eyes. But the most dangerous part wasn't her public downfall. It was the rage boiling beneath it. I learned through a mutual acquaintance that Olivia had been calling reporters, threatening lawsuits, demanding retractions. When that didn't work, she started showing up at Richard's office, pounding on the glass, screaming until security dragged her away. Her obsession grew darker. Neighbors reported seeing her pacing outside my house at night, her car idling by the curb for hours. One morning, Noah whispered to me, frightened, "Grandma, I saw Mommy in the yard last night. She was staring at my window." The final straw came when Olivia attempted something reckless. She withdrew nearly all her remaining funds, what little she hadn't hidden away, and handed it to a shady consultant who promised to fix her image by digging up dirt on me and Richard. But the consultant wasn't a miracle worker. He was a con artist. Within weeks, the money vanished, and Olivia was left with nothing but more humiliation. Still, her eyes burned with that same fury. When she cornered me outside Noah's school one afternoon, her voice was hoarse, but her words cut like knives. "You think you've won, Eleanor? You think the world believes you now? Just wait. I will make sure Noah knows who you really are." I'll poison his heart against you, even if it kills me. Her hands shook as she spoke, her once perfectly manicured nails chipped and broken. This wasn't the Olivia Carter society adored. This was a woman unraveling, consumed by hate, spiraling deeper into her own darkness. And as I held Noah close, shielding him from her madness, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just protecting him from her lies anymore. I was protecting him from his own mother. By now, Olivia had lost nearly everything. Her fortune, her reputation, her friends. But a cornered woman with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous kind of enemy. It began with silence. She disappeared from social media for nearly 3 weeks. No rants. No interviews. No sightings at her usual haunts. New York whispered, maybe she'd left the city. Maybe she'd given up. But I knew better. Olivia Carter never surrendered. She plotted. One Friday evening, Noah's school called in panic. Mrs. Miller, the principal stammered. There's been an incident. Olivia Carter arrived, demanding to see Noah. When we refused, she caused a scene. By the time I arrived, she was gone. But Noah's face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. She tried to take me, Grandma, he whispered. She said you were lying. That you stole me. She said she'd prove it tonight. That night, my house felt like a fortress under siege. I checked every lock, every window. But the storm came not from the shadows, but from the front door. A loud bang. Then another. Olivia's voice, ragged and furious, echoed through the hallway. Eleanor, you can't hide him forever. He's my son. And if you don't give him back, I swear, neither of you will leave this house alive. I grabbed Noah, ushering him upstairs, heart pounding. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Neighbors must have called. But Olivia wasn't waiting. Through the window, I saw her fumbling with a gas can, her hands trembling, her eyes wild. She splashed it across the porch, muttering to herself like a woman possessed. Everything you built, everything you stole, it burns tonight. And then Noah will see. He'll see who really loves him. She struck a match. For one frozen second, time stood still. The tiny flame danced in her hand, fragile but deadly. Noah clutched me, sobbing. Grandma, I'm scared. I held him tight, my voice shaking but firm. Don't be afraid, sweetheart. I won't let her hurt you. And as the sirens grew louder, racing toward us, Olivia raised the match higher, ready to unleash her final, desperate gambit. The night air was thick with gasoline. Olivia's hand trembled as the match flared to life, her wild eyes glowing in the tiny orange light. Noah, she screamed. Look at me. I am your mother. And if I can't have you, no one will. Inside the house, I pulled Noah close against my chest, shielding his eyes from the horror outside. The porch reeked of fuel. One flick of Olivia's wrist, and everything we loved would turn to ash. Olivia, stop. I cried through the window, my voice raw with desperation. This isn't love, it's madness. Don't do this to him. For a split second, her eyes wavered, glistening with tears. But then rage swallowed her again. She lowered the match toward the porch. The wail of police sirens split the night. Blue and red lights painted the street as officers swarmed the yard, weapons drawn. Drop the match, Mrs. Carter, an officer shouted. Now. Olivia's lips curled into a broken smile. You think you can take him from me? You think you can shame me in front of the whole world? I'll show you how it feels to lose everything. She let the match fall. The porch erupted in flames. Heat blasted through the windows. Smoke curled into the hallway. Noah screamed, burying his face against me. I grabbed the fire extinguisher, spraying furiously, coughing as black smoke filled my lungs. But the fire was spreading too fast, licking up the wooden beams like hungry claws. Through the haze, I saw Olivia standing motionless in the yard, her silhouette bathed in the inferno she had unleashed. She didn't run. She didn't hide. She just watched. 2 officers tackled her to the ground as firefighters rushed in, axes splintering the door. "Get them out," someone shouted. Strong arms pulled me and Noah into the cool night air. He coughed, sobbing, but alive. I wrapped him in a blanket, my body shaking, my eyes never leaving the woman on the lawn. Olivia thrashed against the officers, screaming, her voice hoarse and broken. "He's mine. He'll always be mine. You can't erase me." But no one listened anymore. Her words were drowned out by the roar of flames and the crackle of burning wood. For the first time, Olivia Carter wasn't the glamorous widow, the manipulative socialite, or even the cunning villain. She was just broken, consumed by the fire she had lit herself. As dawn broke, the house smoldered in ruins, but Noah was safe in my arms. He looked up at me with weary eyes and whispered, "Grandma, it's over, right?" I kissed his forehead, tears spilling freely. "Yes, sweetheart, it's over." But deep inside, I knew the scars Olivia left behind, the fear, the betrayal, the lessons of her madness, would never fully fade. Love is not possession. Love is not control. True love protects. It never destroys. In the end, Olivia mistook obsession for love, and it consumed her. But Noah's story is a reminder. When we choose truth, courage, and compassion, even the darkest flames can't take away our light.